March 4th, Lighthouse Nursing Home, 6:30. Insert the latest news. The number 5 high-energy particle collision test of the U.S. TPRC, top physics research company, failed. However, this is a key test for mankind to surpass the speed of light and reach the third cosmic speed. Humanity's exploration into the multidimensional universe has entered a new stage. The news broadcast ends here. The radio erupts into another hoarse crackle. A 30-year-old man who is 8 feet tall and had solid muscles rolled over from the bed. Beep, beep, beep. The alarm clock has started to ring. Xiao Rong stretched out a hand from under the quilt and groped around the bedside unconsciously, trying to find the alarm clock. Bang! The alarm clock fell to the ground and broke into 2 pieces. The room fell silent again. But Xiao Rong could no longer sleep. He got up from the quilt, stretching and yawning. Xiao Rong picked up the alarm clock from the floor, reassembled it, and put it on the table. The quilt was as dirty as ever. After all, Elena was not here. As an internationally renowned scientist, the living environment is so bad. Xiao Rong always has his wife Elena to take care of him, so he can live so smoothly. Otherwise, I'm afraid Xiao Rong will have to eat instant noodles for the rest of his life. Xiao Rong picked up the envelope on the table and put it on the bay window of the room. Looking at the scenery outside, the room was really messy, but the layout of the whole room was indeed at the level of a presidential suite. As a top engineer of TPRC, Xiao Rong was admitted to a nursing home because of his overworked work. He planned to recuperate for a while before going back to work. Therefore, the Lighthouse Nursing Home under the name of TPRC has arranged a high-end suite facing the sea for Xiao Rong. The bay window in Xiao Rong's room is a huge arc made of 6 large pieces of glass and protrudes horizontally into the sky. You can bask in the sun under the bay window in the morning and sit here and watch the stars at night. The waves outside are lapping on the beach, and Xiao Rong is enjoying the sound of the tide. Xiao Rong tore open the envelope, took out the letter paper, and spread it out. Letter. Dear Xiao Rong, I know your living habits must be very poor, so I prepared everything and put it in the refrigerator. There are 3 portions in total. When each meal arrives, remember to take out 1 portion and put it in the microwave. You should know how to use a microwave oven. Oh, be careful not to burn your hands. I've also washed your clothes and put them in the cabinet. Remember to take a shower. You don't have to wash the clothes and put them in the washing machine until I come back. In addition, it's best not to go out these days. The doctors said you need to rest. If you need anything, ring the doorbell and a nurse will come to entertain you. P.S. Take good care of your body. Your lover, Elena Smith. Xiao Rong put the letter back into the envelope, opened the refrigerator door, and took out a piece of cereal wrapped in plastic wrap. Xiao Rong opened the membrane and started to drink cereal. Elena guessed wrong. Xiao Rong didn't know how to use a microwave oven. In Xiao Rong's mind, apart from his physical and engineering experimental work, his ability to take care of himself was very poor, and his slovenly pace had no limit. The phone in Xiao Rong's room rang an automatic message. Mr. Xiao Rong, I am your attending doctor. Judging from the recent treatment effects, your recovery is very fast, but in order to ensure the treatment effect, please do not go out for 3 days. I wish you a speedy recovery. Time is 6:50 on March 4th. Wedge Chapter 2, March 4th, Lighthouse Nursing Home, 7:12. Xiao Rong had already finished breakfast, sat down at his desk, picked up the computer, and checked emails from all over the world. Watching chat records was one of Xiao Rong's hobbies. Xiao Rong clicked on the email chat board. Dr. William, I heard that our experiment number 5 failed again, and the media reported it very subtly. Professor Chen, yes, the company has made great efforts to block information from the outside world, but this experiment is no longer a simple failure. In theory, we must succeed, but in fact we have achieved results that are contrary to the facts. There is no doubt that this goes against all our existing scientific knowledge. Xiao Rong started typing. What happened to the conclusion of the experiment? Xiao Rong, who had not yet sent it, saw Dr. William's message again. Dr. William, our laws are certain, but it is also possible that these laws are destined to be good. There may be a threshold. Once this threshold is exceeded, all determination will fail. Professor Chen, or maybe something doesn't want us to exceed this threshold. Professor Chen, the company's Zero project has been launched. This may be the last chance for mankind. There was a long silence, and Xiao Rong still didn't send the message. Xiao Rong opened the news interface. Check out all recent reports about TPRC and various hot headlines in the world of physics. Human thinking is magical, and people's thinking is not singular. It always affects the entire human group. Social ideology is a good example. Whether it is the cultural differences between East and West, or the nature of socialism or capitalism, various famous historical propositions will involve the structure of thinking. A few days ago, James, the top president of TPRC, has announced that the executive power will be transferred to the next one. The newly appointed president of TPRC is Dong Xing'an. We will wait and see whether the new president can lead the company to a brighter future. Host, hello, Mr. Zhang Zhong. I'm glad to interview you. What do you think of the current development of TPRC company? Zhang Zhong, hello, Miss Host. I think that a large company like TPRC, or even a large international monopoly company, needs a genius with abilities beyond ordinary people to maintain it. The previous President James was a genius diplomat, so he developed TPRC from an American high-tech R&D company to a multinational company. James, who built TPRC into an empire as an international monopoly, deserves the honor. The person James can choose to take over his business must be talented, but I think the new president is not up to this level. In the future, TPRC may not have such great development, and it is very likely to go downhill. This is my opinion. Thank you, Miss Host. As the new president of TPRC, I have the obligation to lead all TPRC members into the future. TPRC's new technology has made breakthroughs and will have higher-level developments that will shock the world. What does the failure of experiment number 5 really mean? False reports. I really want to be covered up. Humanity may be in danger. Recently, online rumors have been spreading seriously. Relevant departments have frozen the accounts that spread rumors. Citizens are asked not to believe in online rumors. Think calmly and forward them with caution. Xiao Rong closed his notebook. He himself didn't quite understand the specific content of experiment number 5 mentioned by Dr. William and Professor Chen. He was only responsible for the research on the movement of particles and thoughts related to the experiment. Xiao Rong sat on the bay window and admired the waves outside. The sun was shining on him, which made him feel very comfortable. At this time, the radio rang. An announcement is being made that the Lighthouse Sanatorium has been burglarized recently. We would like to inform all tenants that in order to ensure the safety of all tenants, this nursing home will electronically lock each tenant's room. If you need to go out, please click the video button on the door, and our staff will open the door for you. We apologize for any inconvenience. Today, Tropical Storm Yasuo will make landfall in the coastal areas of our city. People in coastal areas are requested to prepare for emergencies. The time is 12:05 on March 4th. Xiao Rong fell asleep again while the radio was broadcasting. He looked so sloppy in his sleep. He leaned against the window edge, his legs bent together, and fell asleep in the gentle sunshine. Even if he is such a sloppy person, he still has a standard figure. Maybe it was not because of this that Elena would not have taken a liking to such a person. The phone in the room rang again, and an automatic message was left. Xiao Rong, remember to eat the food in the refrigerator. This will be good for your physical recovery. Remember to stay in the house and rest well. Don't turn on the computer too much. The radiation will be harmful to your physical recovery. I love you, husband. At this time, Xiao Rong was sleeping soundly and couldn't hear anything from the outside world. Wedge Chapter 3, March 4th, Lighthouse Nursing Home, 1625. The sky outside the window has become dark, there is no wind flow, and the weather is so boring that even the people inside can feel it. Beep, beep, beep. This is Xiaorong's mobile phone message reminder. Beep, beep, beep. Xiaorong was awakened by the ringtone of a cell phone. Xiaorong stretched again and yawned. He walked into the bathroom, soaked his face in the basin, which was Xiaorong's way of washing his face, and rubbed his face on the towel. Then Xiaorong walked out of the bathroom and turned on his mobile phone. Xiaorong received multiple text messages. If he looked carefully, they were all from Elena. Time 13:02. Honey, what are you doing? Time 13:30, dear. I feel something is wrong. It may be because of the typhoon. The weather outside has become so dark and it makes people feel very depressed. Time 14:32, no. Honey, I feel like someone has been watching me and... Time 15:50, this is all too abnormal. I want to go out and relax, Xiaorong. The access control staff has not been contacted. Time 16:25, no matter what you're doing, escape from the room you are in. Xiaorong felt chilled all over by these inexplicable messages, and goosebumps appeared on his arms. Xiaorong remembered that Elena went to the UK for exchange and study. What happened? Xiaorong immediately replied, "Where are you?" Waited for 10 minutes, and still no reply. Xiaorong put down his notebook and began to locate Elena's text message sending address. This kind of thing is a piece of cake for a senior engineer of TPRC. In less than 2 minutes, Xiaorong had already located the location of Elena's sending address. Sender, Elena. Sent time, March 3rd. Sending location, Lighthouse Nursing Home. Xiaorong felt strange why the sending location was the Lighthouse Nursing Home, and the text message was just received on his phone, but the sending time displayed on the computer was the day before. Just when Xiaorong was puzzled, an unknown contact message appeared on his computer. Xiaorong clicked to view. Please believe me, the only thing you can do now is to leave the room you are in. Xiaorong felt very strange. When he really wanted to ask the other party, the message appeared again. You don't need to know who I am. If you want to survive number 5, you'd better believe me. Leave your room immediately and come to the control room on the basement floor. You must not be noticed. Xiaorong ran to the door and pressed the access control button. A nurse's figure appeared on the screen. Do you need help, Mr. Xiao? I want to go out. Please open the door. Mr. Xiao, the typhoon has started to land outside, so it's best not to go out. Oh, okay, thank you. Xiaorong suddenly realized that the nurse didn't seem to want to open the door and let him out. Xiaorong returned to the computer and began to restore messages. It seems the door can't be exited. The nurse doesn't seem to want me to get out. Is there any other way? The other end of the computer replied after a few minutes. Is there any glass object near you that can transmit light? Xiaorong scratched his head and thought for a while. Does the bay window count? Immediately grab something and smash it. Remember, no matter what you see, smashing the bay window is equivalent to exposing yourself. After smashing it, leave quickly and don't let others find you. Xiaorong, is it that mysterious? Opposite the screen. Maybe Elena is smarter than you. Leave quickly. This is the last glimmer of hope for you to survive. It's 17:05 now. You have to complete everything I said before 2400 hours. Hurry up. Time is running out. Xiaorong typed frantically. Do you know Elena? Where is she? There is no message on the screen. At this time, Xiaorong was thinking nervously. What happened? How is Elena? What should I do? With a series of questions, Xiaorong picked up the chair and walked towards the largest bay window in the room. He smashed it hard with his hand, and the glass of the bay window broke instantly. As the glass broke, there was a world that ordinary people could not believe. The waves he saw just now were just holographic projections, and now what appeared in front of him was a messy laboratory. There were scattered papers all around, under the dim light, irregularly arranged chairs, scratches on the wall, and some red blood stains on the ground. Why did my own sanatorium suddenly appear in the laboratory? What is going on? Xiao Rong realized the seriousness of the matter and began to walk cautiously in the empty laboratory. The surroundings were eerily quiet. The wind outside was getting louder and louder. Xiao Rong could only hear his own breathing and heartbeat. Xiao Rong picked up a flashlight from the table and started to illuminate the ground. At this moment, a pair of hands grabbed Xiao Rong's feet from behind. Xiao Rong was so frightened that he lost his balance and suddenly fell. Xiao Rong felt that he turned around, only to find a dying staff member, wearing a white coat but dyed bright red by his own blood. He only had one breath left and kept mumbling these words in his mouth. Xiao Rong crawled over, trying to hear clearly what he was saying. He could only hear some fragmentary words that were very vague, but Xiao Rong understood the two words evade and eternal night. Just when Xiao Rong wanted to ask what was going on, the staff member had already passed away, with a look of fear in his eyes before he died. What exactly is eternal night? Xiao Rong couldn't understand. His mind is now in a mess, and now he can only go to the bathroom on the first floor of the basement that the stranger mentioned just now, so that he can figure out the whole story. Xiao Rong's heart was so tangled that he could no longer calm down at all, but in order to find Elena, Xiao Rong could only calm down. Walking to the window, I roughly estimated that this place should be on the 5th floor. If you want to go underground in such a huge maze-like building without an elevator, it is impossible to do it quickly. At this time, there was a knock on the door in the room. Mr. Xiao, your anxiety may need immediate treatment, and we will force entry into your room. From this moment on, no one understood what was happening. Wedge Chapter 4, March 4th, Lighthouse Nursing Home, 1800 hours. Walking through the dark corridor, Xiao Rong groped forward with the faint light of his flashlight. I have never been to a place like this. Why did my vacation room become a room in a laboratory? Are all my previous memories fake? Then, where is Elena? Xiao Rong's heart was entangled to the extreme. His steps had reached a point where he was a little unsteady, but his strong body still allowed him to keep walking forward. Xiao Rong gasped in the corridor and walked around. There were closed doors on both sides. There was a weak light, and he couldn't find the end of the corridor. No one knew what was ahead. Xiao Rong took out his mobile phone and looked at the time again, 18:30. After walking for 30 minutes, Xiao Rong was still groping around on this floor, unable to find the stairs to go downstairs. Suddenly, Xiao Rong heard the sound of propellers outside the window. Xiao Rong suddenly felt hopeful and started to move towards the place illuminated by the searchlight. Boom, boom, boom. 5 mercenaries wearing special operations uniforms burst in through the broken glass of the window. All of them were well equipped with searchlights on their heads, illuminating the surroundings. They all walked in almost the same pace, and they all held Type 95 automatic rifles in their hands. Just when Xiao Rong was about to appear in the sight of the mercenary searchlight, a pair of big hands suddenly covered Xiao Rong's mouth and nose. The hands smelled of ether. Xiao Rong struggled hard, but could not escape the restraints of the people behind him. As time passed by, Xiao Rong gradually lost consciousness, and his eyelids slowly lowered. In the last trace of consciousness, Xiao Rong could only watch the mercenary walk past his eyes and disappear at the end of the corridor. Wedge Chapter 5, March 4th, Lighthouse Nursing Home, 2001. Xiao Rong slowly opened his eyes. His mind was blurry. He kept shaking his head, raised his head, and looked around. There was a laboratory around, with scalpels placed around it and some black clinker bags piled in the distance. Xiao Rong tried to stand up, but found that his legs were tied to the operating chair and his hands were fixed to the armrests of the chair. He could not move. Xiao Rong, who had struggled many times to no avail, suddenly heard the sound of communication at the door. Through the glass were two experimenters who looked like doctors. One was fat, and the other was thin. Hans, experiment number 5 failed. Now, everything is collapsing further. We must establish a new support point of order. The thin doctor. We can only find a substitute for experiment number 5. The obese doctor. Eternal night has appeared. I don't think we can delay it any longer. TPRC has started to clean up itself. Whether humans can survive tonight may depend on us. The obese doctor. It's been an hour and a half since I tied him back. It's time for him to wake up. Let's start the operation. There is no thinking resonator. We have to peel off your brain while he is still awake. The obese doctor walked to Xiaorong's side and picked up the cutting saw. I'm sorry, engineer. We will only be able to take out your brain while you're awake. I will cut off your pain nerves to reduce your pain as much as possible. The sound of the chainsaw began to spin, and the squeaking sound began to approach Xiaorong's mind. Xiaorong looked ferocious at this moment. He was almost frightened and kept shaking his body and trying to leave the chair, but his body was like being suppressed by an iron block and could not move at all. What are you going to do? Let me go quickly? Help! Help! Xiaorong roared with a heartbreaking roar, and there was infinite fear in his roar. Engineer Xiao, it's useless no matter how you call. There's no one alive except us on this floor. Fat Dr. Hans said calmly. What are you going to do? Why am I here? Xiaorong tried his best to delay time. The thin doctor took a razor, touched Xiaorong's head, and shaved off the hair on his head. Engineer Xiao, we have no choice but to stabilize this collapsing dimensional space before the eternal night completely erupts. The thin doctor said to Xiaorong while using a razor. What on earth are you talking about? I don't understand. I don't know anything. Xiaorong tried desperately to explain. You don't need to know anything more. Hans said coldly. The rotating surgical saw was already approaching and was about to cut off Xiaorong's head. Stop, help. Click, click. The saw blade had touched Xiaorong's skin. Bright red blood spurted out, and a heartbreaking pain immediately spread throughout Xiaorong's body. Bang! The door of the laboratory was kicked open, and 3 mercenaries rushed into the laboratory and fired randomly at the laboratory. The thin doctor and Hans were instantly beaten to a pulp. A mercenary walked to the operating table and inspected Xiaorong, who was lying on the operating table. Xiaorong was in a daze. The surgical electric saw cut a gash in his head. At this time, blood was flowing out continuously. The cleanup is complete. The target is safe. Please retreat. The mercenary spoke to the docking machine. The other 2 mercenaries ran over and untied Xiaorong's hands and legs and carried Xiaorong, who was still in shock. Engineer Xiao, can you hear me clearly? A mercenary carrying Xiaorong asked Xiaorong. At this time, Xiaorong could only see blurry images in front of his eyes and could hardly understand any words spoken by others. The mercenaries performed emergency bandaging on Xiaorong and carried Xiaorong out of the laboratory. The mercenary took Xiaorong to a place similar to a hall and met with several other mercenaries. Xiaorong walked to a step and sat down, trying to collect his thoughts. A mercenary wearing a beret walked over. His aura was completely different from other mercenaries. He had an inexplicable aura, a standard inverted triangle figure, a Roman nose, thick eyebrows, and triangular eyes. He seemed to be the leader of this group of mercenaries. Engineer Xiao, I am Andre Abbott, the director of the TPRC security department. Unfortunately, you were kidnapped by terrorists. I was ordered by the company to rescue you. Now that the mission has been successfully completed, I will escort you back to the TPRC headquarters in Los Angeles, USA. Please get on the plane with us later. Director Andre, is all this true? Xiaorong asked Andre with a very confused and sad expression. Of course, Engineer Xiao, this is true. Andre replied with no doubt. Where is Elena? Xiaorong had no expression on his face. Dr. Smith is conducting exchange studies abroad? The company was afraid that your kidnapping would disturb international exchanges, so it did not notify Dr. Smith and sent us to rescue you. So that's it. Xiao Hua replied with a look of despair, but Andre didn't realize it. Engineer Xiao, it's time for us to leave, Andre said, reaching out to lift Xiaorong's shoulders and driving him from the stairs downstairs. The mercenary moved forward, and Andre drove Xiaorong down the stairs. The helicopter is already waiting outside the nursing home. We have to get down quickly, Andre said to himself. And Xiaorong could no longer trust anyone at this moment. There is nothing abnormal ahead. You can continue moving forward. The mercenary led Xiaorong from the 5th floor to the 1st floor, but he was very cautious. There was not a single person in the whole building. Everything was silent, but everything he passed seemed to be swept by something. When we arrived on the 1st floor, we were surrounded by a ring of buildings. There were no stars visible from the skylight on the roof. The wind was getting louder and louder, like the roar of a monster. The wind and rain were blowing, and the wind speed was enough to lift a tin house. Director, due to the influence of Yasuo, we may not be able to take off. A mercenary ran over and said, "This is going to be difficult. It's 22:03 now. I have to get back to the company headquarters before midnight and take off," Andre said with certainty, with his inexplicable majesty. Xiaorong's cell phone started to vibrate again. Xiaorong took out his cell phone, and it was a strange text message. Sender, unknown. Don't trust anyone, and come to the control room on the 1st floor of the basement. Time, March 4th, 22:04. Wedge Chapter 6, March 4th, Lighthouse Nursing Home, 22:06. In the lobby on the 1st floor of the Lighthouse Nursing Home, Andre was arranging for the helicopter to take off. Xiaorong has made a decision. Now, he can only rely on his own mind to make judgments. Everything in the outside world may not be true. Director Andre, can I go to the bathroom? Xiaorong asked Andre tentatively. Go to the bathroom, okay? Let the two of them accompany you. It can also protect your safety, Andre said firmly. Yeah, Xiaorong replied expressionlessly. Xiaorong walked around the corner and entered the bathroom. A mercenary followed him in, and another mercenary stood guard at the door of the bathroom. Although reluctant but unable to refuse, Xiaorong walked into the bathroom stall and locked the door, thinking about what to do next. Xiaorong took off his belt and slowly opened the door. The mercenary was facing the toilet door with his back to Xiaorong. Xiaorong was also very agile with his hands and feet. He put a belt on the mercenary's neck with both hands and strangled it hard. The mercenary kept struggling, but it was obvious that Xiaorong was stronger. It didn't take long for him to lose strength, and his hands completely collapsed. Xiaorong felt that his muscles were useful for the first time. Xiaorong picked up the mercenary's rifle, hid it behind him, and walked to the door. He seems to be dizzy suddenly and is resting in the bathroom. Please go in and take a look, Xiaorong said to the mercenary at the door of the bathroom. What's going on? He walked into the toilet. Looking at his teammate sitting on the toilet, the mercenary tentatively wanted to call him.